Today, we are taking a look at stop motion videos. This is going to serve as a guide to help you come up with a concept from the very beginning. It will show you how to develop it and end up with a final finished product at the end. To begin, we're going to take a look at how to develop a storyboard. Storyboards are a great tool to help you visualize your ideas, and we're going to break them up into 3 simple steps. The first thing that we are going to focus on is what we are making. In this case, we're obviously going to be focusing on making a stop motion video, and I've chosen to make one based on a recipe for scones. Now we can add some meat to this by listing out all the things that we are going to need for our video. This list needs to be as detailed as possible, but remember, you can come back and edit it as you work through your storyboard. In my list, I noted all the ingredients and possible equipment I would need to gather before I started filming, so to speak. Obviously then, the final step is to create the storyboard itself, and we do this by sequencing the scenes, if you will, to our video. It's where we decide how we want the objects in our video to move and interact with each other, and this is done by creating a series of boxes where you can draw out what you envisioned. Try to include as many steps as possible and include words and descriptions to help guide your storyboard. Don't worry if you realize that something won't work. In fact, this is an important part of putting together a storyboard. Just grab a different color and make the edits, jotting down some notes to help you remember why you changed something. So as you can see in my board, I realized that I needed a way to get my ingredients into the mixing bowl without capturing my hand in the frames. So I thought I would try make some kind of steps, but then I realized that it would be another object walking onto the screen, which just felt like it was going to be a bit chaotic and feel too busy in my final product, especially for the opening scene. So I decided that they should already be set up and waiting with the mixing bowl in the opening frame. Since the focus is on sequencing, it's important to number your frames. And you'll notice how I had a thought about how I was going to transition between certain parts of my video. Here, I realized that I couldn't just take the empty packets out, but felt that having it climb out of the bowl would be a bit much. So I crossed out the number 4 on my frame and made it a number 5, inserting a new frame to take its place. I decided to have a wooden spoon, which would act as a sort of magic wand to kind of make items that I was done with magically disappear. And this actually worked out really well in the final video, so be sure to check it out. Doing a stop motion video with food was a lot of fun, and it turned out pretty good in the end. But since you are working with raw ingredients, and in this case I was working with sticky dough, it is important that you not only wash your hands before you start to avoid any cross-contamination, but be sure to also keep a dish towel or clean cloth nearby to keep your hands clean throughout the filming process. Coming up with a recipe that is fun to make even without stop motion is a win. So we usually use cookie cutters to divide up our dough, and I realized that could be quite a fun element to the video. I could almost see them walking onto the flattened dough and cutting out the shapes ready to be baked into scones. But I didn't know how I would safely get them into the oven since my recording setup was going to be happening right in front of it. So I decided to rather scrap that, and that just displaying all the cutout shapes on the board would be fun. Now that our storyboard is done, we're going to take a look at how we capture what we would call our frames. Firstly, it's really important that you plan out your movements before you just jump right in. Although you would have created an epic storyboard, doing things in reality might not work out as well as you may have imagined. So here you can see me shifting things around and trying to get a feel for how the objects would move around on the board. I also tested to make sure that my little steps that I made could handle the weight of my ingredients. As I was going, I realized that I needed a knife to crack the eggs, a bigger container for the milk, and I remembered scissors to cut open the packet. So this was a really helpful step, which enabled me to be organized and made the capturing of the frames the easiest part of this whole thing. Now for the fun part, making movie magic. Think of your objects as people treat them as though they have their own personality, their own style of moving. I know it sounds silly, but it makes the video fun. Think about how they walk and move on the board. Try not to have too much movement between frames, and remember that while the focus might be on one object moving, your other characters, so to speak, can also have slight movements in the background. The smaller your changes from one frame to the other will mean a lot more pictures, but it will also mean a smoother end product. Likewise, having drastic changes between frames means less pictures but a more jarring experience for your audience. You could play around with something simple like a pencil moving on a desk or a pair of scissors opening and closing to help you find the balance that feels right for what you are going for. Let's talk about setup. You want the device you are using to capture these images to be static. This means that it should not shift around as you take each picture. I was lucky enough to have this tripod at home with a phone clip which worked pretty well. You might need to get creative here. In the past, we've used Lego blocks to create a type of phone stand, which also worked. Make sure you are taking these pictures in a well-lit area, and also make sure that your movements as you manipulate your objects don't cast shadow over your stage. I guess we could call it that. You've made it through your pictures, and now it's time to edit. There are a number of options out there, but if you're wanting to work from an Android, CapCut seems to be the current favorite. And although you can get it on Apple devices as well, there is something out there that's a little bit better for Apple, so I'll circle back to that in a moment. So CapCut is a fairly good choice anyway, whether you are using it on an iPhone or an Android, and it does make use of some good tools. But you will run into limitations unless you have the premium version. Also, be warned, the app cannot handle the possible 200 photos you took. So you could load a few at a time, export them, and then join them together in the end as a final video. It's not the greatest way to do it, but it can be done with some patience. I took my pictures in landscape because I wanted to upload it to my channel when I was done. So what I was trying to figure out here is how to rotate the frames. It turns out that you can, but I only seem to be able to do one picture at a time. I'm not sure if the premium version offers this, so I settled on creating a video and then editing it afterwards, which I will show you in a bit. You will need to edit the length of your frames. The shorter the duration of the frame, the faster the video will pass through each picture, giving the illusion of the objects actually moving. This was frustrating, honestly, as the option to change the speed of all the slides at once was definitely a premium feature. But for the sake of this guide, I persevered and exported a pretty decent little video. Once I had exported it, I started a new project and loaded in the video. I could then flip the whole video to the correct orientation and then exported it once again. Another video editing option is the mighty DaVinci Resolve by Blackmagic Design. This is quality software which has a lot more free features than CapCut, and once you get the hang of it, will save you a lot of time if you can't get a premium version of CapCut. DaVinci does have a premium version as well, but this video and my stop motion video was made on DaVinci, and it saved a bunch of time, all without me even needing to get the premium version. So you're definitely getting a lot more features. And, you guessed it, there is an app for those of you on iOS. Unfortunately, if you're running Android like me, then you're going to have to download this onto a laptop or PC. This could prove difficult as it can be resource hungry, so if your computer can't handle the software, you're going to have to stick to CapCut or something similar. When DaVinci has started, click on New Project and give it a name. Once you've done that, it will take you to the Cut tab, which you can ignore for this project. On the left of that though, you will see a tab called Media, which is where you will want to start. Make sure you have your pictures loaded onto your PC, then open the folder with all your pictures. To select all your pictures in one go, hold the Control button and press A when you are in your pictures folder and drag them all into this Media tab. You can then click on the Edit tab at the bottom of the screen. This will take you to where you'll be working on your video. On the left hand side, you'll see all of your pictures. Click one and then hold Ctrl and A again to select them all. Now you're going to drag them down into that section you see in the video. This is called your timeline. Now to the good part. Unlike what I experienced in CapCut, you can click on one picture on your timeline, select all the other pictures at once using Ctrl and A again, and then you can change the orientation of all the images at once by selecting the Inspect tool on the top right corner. Under the heading Transform, there's an option called Rotation Angle. Where you see the numbers, double click and type in 90 for the number of degrees you need to rotate it by. Pro tip, if your picture is now upside down, double click it again and type in 270 instead. Check your pictures by moving the red line over another slide to make sure that they all have changed together. Now select all of your images again and right click. Look for an option around the middle of the list called Change Clip Duration and select it. This will bring up a window for you to adjust the timing of your pictures. Edit the very far right set of numbers as you will want to use split seconds for your frames. When you do this, something terrifying might happen. The pictures will appear super skinny with these big gaps between them. You can zoom in to see them better by holding the Alt button on your keyboard and moving the wheel on your mouse. To get rid of all those gaps at once, go to Edit on the very top of your screen, and around the middle, once you've clicked it, will be an option to delete gaps. This should automatically join all your pictures together. Click the play button and give it a look. If you want to use music, check out Pixabay for royalty-free songs and even sound effects. You can choose one you like and download it to the same folder as your pictures. Then drag it into your timeline. It might be longer than your video, so you can select the razor blade tool that you see me using now to cut it in line with the end of your video, and then you can select the extra bits and delete it. When you are ready to export your video, click the rocket ship tab on the bottom of your screen, which says Deliver. Once you're here, select the YouTube format and then give your project a name. This will be the name that your project will save as, and it'll be something that you search for on your computer if you were ever looking for it. Make sure to select a location for your video to be saved in as well. All you need to do now is click Add to Render Queue at the bottom, and then on the right hand side you'll see a button that says Render All. Click it, and there you have it, your very own stop motion video. Good luck!